Okay. Welcome all to the first Inference Gateway Inference Extension meeting of December. It might be like one of the very few this month. All the holidays fall on Thursdays. Uh, same as usual. We're still a CNCF project. No surprises there. This is being recorded and uploaded to YouTube, so please follow the CNCF guidelines. If you don't know what those are, it's real easy. Just be nice, be polite, and you'll be just fine. Cool. So with that out of the way, let's talk about our lawn mowing real quick. Near, did you have a chance to do any grooming? If not, not a big deal. You were on release, so I could see that as a viable uh,
Yeah, I
replacement.
did what I could. Um,
Sure.
some based on the time limitations with the releases, both of Inference Extension and LLMD. But
Yeah.
yeah, I did some.
Cool. Um, and who do you pick for next? It's been me, it's been you, and then we can do Abdullah or
Mm.
Danian, I think, before we fully cycle.
Yeah, just a random order. Don't think it really matters.
Okay.
Daniel is not here,
Yeah. So
so if
Abdullah.
Abdullah, if you have time, Abdullah.
Sorry, I did not pay attention. We actually
Oh.
have a company-wide planning. I don't know what to call it. Like Sundar is speaking now.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
sorry, yeah. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, no, we were just we're putting you on grooming duty this week. So just at least 30 minutes of issue grooming in the repo.
Sure.
Yeah, cool.
Is that do you guys do this like during the meeting or after?
No, 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 no. Just over the next week. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
no problem.
Cool. Yeah, and then Nir, why don't you take it away for the release? Uh,
Yeah, so just a sentence on the release. So we um, released the final version of 1.2.0, and then so this release was tested. We didn't find any major issues with the first release candidate, which we then promoted to a final release. But then apparently there is some minor issue with the installation instructions. So we, as maintainers and as the team who is working very closely, we probably already pre-installed the CRDs, and that is why we missed that. But um, I think initially it was one of the LLMD members. I think it was Maya who found out that um, the quick start guide doesn't work because there is some issue with the CRD installation, and more specifically, there is a new CRD for inference model rewrite, which can be used for traffic splitting and model rewrite in general. So we identified the problem. Shmuel pushed a fix. We merged that. Thank you, Shmuel. And we now cut a patch release that will be published later today. And then you should be good to go.
cool. Yeah, thank you both for tackling this. That looks like we have an issue here that Abdullah just brought up. Did any more topics on the release before we move on? It was rather brief. Um, I think that sounds great. I would love to try to make our release smoother, and I would kind of want to talk about our next release to coordinate with 0.5. But anyways, cool. So let's jump to Abdullah. Yeah, Abdullah, why don't you go ahead
Yeah. Can you open the issue, please?
for sure.
Present.
Let me share the screen. I haven't been sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that we can discuss like live here. The this I want to get like alignment from all. I'm not trying to push a specific thing here,
Yeah.
like a specific idea. Um, and I myself like not completely sure. I just want to make sure that you guys also help define the direction here. So what the problem I'm trying to solve is like when I look at our repo, like I see our framework and plugins are like scattered throughout the code. Like I don't find one place where I can see, okay, here is what defines our framework, the interfaces, and here are the set of plugins. that are implemented. And so like, okay, so this specific issue doesn't solve this bigger problem. It's just like, okay, there's one issue, which is I want to find a specific feature. And I thought, okay, maybe we should name these plugins by the feature, organize them by the feature name rather than by the extensions. And I want to stress a point here is that like our pluggable model is driven by extensions, but the extensions themselves don't define what our features are. Like the feature is a set of extensions. It's not the other way around. And so that's what I took. It was a bit problematic to me when I see like we're organizing our plugins by extensions, which means that if I'm trying to look for a feature, then I have to look through multiple places. I know that we have the multi-extension directory, but if most of our extensions are plugins are going to be multiple extensions, then it's going to be like basically a flat set of files inside that directory.
That's the question, Abdul.
And so, yeah, and so like if people agree that maybe we need to change this structure to be like feature first, then what would be the naming? Itai raised a good point, and I thought that we might want to discuss the last point that he raised, which is, okay, how do we name this? If we agree that we need to restructure it. And then the other question is, okay, how do we also try to organize our framework as an interfaces in one place where every time I'm trying to understand the framework and the extensions, the interfaces, they are in one place, they're not scattered. Kellen?
Yeah, so I agree with the points that our interfaces should be centralized, regardless of if they are different parts. Maybe we can put those in different files. We just consider the framework its own component. The thing about the features part, I'm fine with that, but one requirement I think we should consider is that part of the work that Rahul's doing with the producer consumer model is that multiple disparate features want to use some of the same data. Specifically prefix cache is the primary example. Excuse me. The prefix cache plugin wants to use it. The predictor wants to use it. Those are kind of two separate things, but they both rely on the same thing. So if we just package by features, that might be odd or confusing if it's consumed in that way. So that was kind of what I was getting at with the flat structure comment in the PR. Is it's like, okay, we're separating by feature and specifying the plugin it implements. So then you can kind of see it all, but then, that could make for a really long list and be confusing in itself too. But just a thought.
But those things that are used by multiple plugins could be features on of themselves, and then it would be the case where we have features with dependencies.
Yeah.
But things for example, something that needs a pre and I forgot the name of the extensions, but I assume we have something called prescore, whatever. But it's specific to that feature. It should be within that feature directory or package, rather than having it under an extension specific package.
Yeah.
We had this discussion a long time ago.
I think it was in the context of the configuration file, if you remember.
Probably.
Right. And now it's in this, I'm raising it in the context of how we structure our code packages. I don't know if you guys have thoughts, Nir. I don't know.
Yeah, I can share my thoughts. So initially I was thinking that we should, separate by the function, like filter score and such things. But I get your point. I mean, I'm not against being feature oriented. I'm just not sure about the namings. So there are, multiple options, but none of them really sounds like natural. I don't know, like if I was if I have to look in the repo, and just browse and go into some directories, I'm not sure that I'll be able to find what I'm looking for if I'm a newcomer. And this is what I'm thinking about, like how can we simplify this?
Yeah.
So for example, the options here. So if I look on the last comment that Itai wrote, 1, 2, 3.
There is
So
another one.
3.
Scroll down a bit. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sure there are more options. Just trying to, for the example, look on these 3. So option number 3 is a complete repetition. Not sure if it makes sense. And then the other, like 1 and 2, they specifically mention scorer, which is not always the case. I mean,
Yeah.
each plugin has its main capability, right? And this is probably what the intention was here. But I assume there are some plugins that their main capability is not just one. It's like, spreading over more than one extension point, and then this naming model, it doesn't work so good. So to summarize, I'm fine with going with feature as the first level of splitting. Just not sure about what should go after the feature.
Abdullah, go ahead. Yeah, you have your hand.
Oh.
Sorry, my hand is still up.
Oh, okay. So I have another option there, like which is predicted latency scorer.plugin. So the struct, like the name of the struct is going to be a plugin inside that, right? And then we add a function, like it's a feature name and the main function that it provides. We discussed before that like each plugin should ideally implement one specific feature. Like if it implements more than one feature, it should be 2 different plugins. And that's actually enforced by our configuration file. Like not enforced, but you configure if you want to configure them separately. These 2 features, they cannot be under the same struct, right? And so we already decided that a plugin should be focused on one feature anyways. And this is where, like I'm saying, we can be the feature name, and then we have a suffix that describes what this feature. Like most of ours are scorers, but there are others that are not. For example, like the data collection, or maybe there's a filter, or maybe the PD one, right? Like which is like PD orchestrator, we call it, dot plugin, right? So that's roughly what I have in mind. It's not going to be ideal all the time. I'm pretty sure we're going to find cases where it's going to look odd. But it's the compromise that I'm leaning towards.
Shmuel, go ahead.
Well, you raised your hand before me.
No, you were good. Go ahead.
Okay, his hand just stuck up. Okay, no problem. Now, I was gonna say I don't like having the type in there. I like the idea of the function of the feature, but I don't like the name in there. And because that we go down the rat hole of these the multi we'll have multi, which are really weird. And you're going down that rat hole. And by the way, I don't think the configuration actually the configuration happily will deal with plugin that does multiple things. It couldn't care less really.
No, but if you want to enable one but disable the other, you can't, right? Like because it will just configure all the extension points. You can't configure per extension in the configuration file. You just set the plugin name, right? And then it will do everything. And so
presumably, so my presumption is that a feature that has multiple plugins implemented in there means you really want all of them.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And then that plugin is implementing one feature, and that is the feature that we should have as the main function suffix, right? What it exactly does. Is it orchestration? Is it scoring? Is it?
No, but that's the point I disagree with. I don't think we need to know that. It's a feature, right? It's predicted. It's
Sure.
predicted latency. It's predicted latency, and it's some set of plugins that makes it happen.
But
Yeah, but yeah. Go ahead.
so just some thoughts with the producer consumer model. I've forced things to be a little more strict. Uh, Specifically the um, scheduling plugins are data consuming, and necessarily so because we snapshot the data. We have changed the model where we prepare all this data after the snapshot, and then you can run any number of scheduling profiles. They should all have the data. You can parallelize them all. Uh, that means that those plugins can't produce data because what would that, no one can even consume that. They're kind of the tail end of this framework. So if we allow people to bind these data producing plugins with these strictly data consuming plugins, it may cause for bad engineering to where they can make assumptions that they can use their own data in their scorers and their scheduling plugins. But then when someone else goes to compose with their data producing plugins, it might not work because they made some assumptions that like, oh, actually we assumed we were making some changes in the score, which is not quite correct and doesn't allow for this composability of these different plugins to allow people to build on top of each other. Uh, Now, understood that that might make for a more frustrating UX for the simple case, so I'm willing to compromise for the technical purity of it all, but that's my thoughts. I see a lot of hands, or I guess just mine and yours. Here, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think you touched a second point that worth its own discussion, whether scheduling plugins should be able to produce data, which I personally think it should be able to do so. But leaving that aside, so what if we just, so I'll talk about these two different, completely different questions. So about the original question Abdullah raised. So what if we just name the like have a general plugins directory. Under that, we have a feature directory, for example, a prediction latency or predictor or whatever. And then under that directory, we just have plugin.go. Okay, we have a feature and a file called plugin. So we don't handle any specifics in the name of the package or in the name of the file on which extension point this feature is implementing, because this comes with, so this is one feature. It comes as a one complete bundle. You take it all or you don't take anything. If you want to do that, go to that directory of that feature and whatever is there is there. So this is what I'm thinking, just thinking out loud about this question. About the second point that Kellen just raised, that that scheduling plugins cannot produce data. So I actually think that scheduling plugins should be able to produce data because we do have this data model where we declare the dependencies of data produced, data consumed plugins, and then we have validation on the DUG at initialization, at bootstrap of the system. So what I'm trying to say, if I take as an example the prefix plugin, so prefix can have multiple extension points. One extension can be the for example, the produce data, because per request, the prefix plugin needed to generate this prefix matching per each of the candidate pods. So we do that before scheduling. This is part of the request control layer. And then it has this core function, which can potentially use the same data that it produced, but at the same time, different plugins also can consume that data. So since we do the data producing in the request control layer, that always happens before scheduling. And even though it's the same plugin or the same Go file, it happens in two different time on the request flow. So I wouldn't go into like forcing users or developers to separate things that logically they belong together. Like prefix plugin should be able to calculate the prefix per request and produce that data for the request for the other plugins that has to use this data. But then we also have the prefix scorer. So it makes sense to go together because it's the same, it works on the same data. So this is my 2 cents on this topic, but we can discuss that separately.
I agree with you. I'm just concerned that it's easy to make assumptions because it's all in the same struct. Whereas if you force them into different structs, you kind of force this contract that the produced data has to behave in a certain way, that anybody that wants to use that will be able to use it in the same way. But if you allow a specific scorer to special case and be a part of that struct, that specific scorer can kind of, access private fields, access private data, which you might not be thinking about. And so then when someone goes to use it, someone else goes to use your produced data, it might not work correctly because you're like, oh shoot, I made this assumption. I just think it makes it a little easier to foot gun, but
Yeah.
maybe that's we put that on
So
the onus of the reviewers and creators, but I think it's easier to design a system where they can't foot gun so you don't have to have the review overhead.
yeah, so I actually think we should, if we go that way, go with this direction, we should not. So obviously developers can do that, but we should consume the data using the exact same mechanism. So our DUG is not a classic DUG, but it is a DUG that allows self-reference. So it is kind of a cycle, but only if you reference yourself, that's fine. So this is kind of a, relaxation of the DUG, but it will allow
Yeah.
us to be, consistent across all plugins, and you don't care whether the same plugin was the one that produced the data or you're consuming other plugin. So it doesn't matter in this case.
Yeah. And so I understand. So we're suggesting relaxing the DAG. And
Yes.
what we're getting out of that is an easier to read directory. What other value points are we getting? And for if we sacrifice that?
I would like to simplify the UX of developer who wants to develop a plugin with a state where other plugins can consume that state. So, but usually if a plugin produces a state, then I expect that plugin to self-consume that state. So if I take prefix as an example, as a good example in this case. So I know that like in LLMD we have the PD profile handler that consumes prefix, and we have the predictor that needs to consume the prefix state.
Right.
But we also have the prefix plugin itself that needs to consume the prefix state. So eventually the DUG, at least the way I see it, the purpose of the DUG is not to be a classic DUG, but just to allow us some sense of validation that if a plugin declares that it needs to consume some data, we need to make sure that this data was produced before the consumption. So this is
Exactly.
yeah.
If we loosen this though, there is a potential that a plugin isn't going to work as expected. Personally, my opinion, the juice is not worth the squeeze. I would rather remain strict and ask people to learn a little bit more about our plugin system and our plugin catalog. But that's I come from a very biased perspective. I'm fully aware of our system and how it works. So take what I have to say for a grain of salt, or with a grain of salt. But that's my perspective.
Yeah, maybe we can open the discussion for more
Yeah.
thoughts. Anyone has some thoughts about this topic?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anyone else?
Sure. I'm used to Google Chat that pulls it for you.
Okay. So as a next step, then, like I think Nir, you described the option that I have here, but without the scorer as a suffix, right? Is that
Yes?
right? And then for the data producing plugins, they should be their own plugins, and then that would allow them to be shared across different plugins, right? Because I might want to configure a specific data producer for the predictor, but at the same time, I don't want the prefix cache aware scheduling to be configured at all, right? But I want the prefix cache producer. And so that producer needs to be its own plugin that is configured separately. But then our new mechanism of enforcing dependencies will help the validation, right? Okay. Yeah.
During Bootstrap, you should get an error if there's no one producing the data you want to consume.
And Mike makes an excellent point. Because someone could theoretically do away with any of our plugins that we provide in tree, and they would have them out of tree, we would create a more relaxed system at runtime for a better directory structure that someone might not even use. So that kind of makes me feel a little more strongly that enforcement is important. So then I'm asking the user to understand less about our system and just more about their plugins. Is it a pain, a PETA? Probably. But again, I'm happy to seek feedback, and we should kind of sketch this out in the issue. Sorry, Mike, if you want to go ahead, please do. We still have 9 minutes in the time.
No, that's just really interesting. Like I'm looking at the directory structure and seeing all of these in the EPP scheduling framework. And I was wondering, is there an interface such that you could register a plugin from somewhere else? And yeah, I wasn't aware of the LLMD one. That's really interesting.
Yeah. That's actually the intent. We intentfully make this very flexible, so someone could fork and not even fork. They just import us as a library and write their own thing. Yeah, I will link the LLMD scheduler repo here. It's pretty cool.
I'm very interested in this because we're looking at a similar issue with emitters for ingress to gateway.
Yeah.
I'll create another issue to revisit these pluggability interfaces and to basically group them under one package. So that's the other thing that I feel is useful.
I agree with that for sure. Yeah. To me, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, and then there's an open PR to do the restructure. So I will advise the contributor with what we discussed today. Basically, the option that we just discussed, the feature name, the plugin, and then plugin flat structure, at least for the scheduling ones, where they are. And then we can later discuss if we want to move everything under one plugin directory. I think that's different, but we still need to group them by component for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right.
Cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I think, this was a good conversation. Sweet. I think we can all see my screen. Yes. I just had a quick note. We spoke last meeting. We were expanding our owners file, expanding reviewers, kind of all with the intent to increase feature velocity. I love that. We need to move fast. Inference moves fast. I'm here for it. I will consider it if someone takes their PR out of WIP. That means that they have validated it. They have deployed the EPP and they have tested their feature. Obviously we should write unit tests. I would love to see for larger features more of our hermetic tests or end-to-end tests. But self-validation, I think, is really important. We can't be. I would love to keep the patches to a minimum. So just kind of a call out there. I've noticed us getting. I want to keep our velocity, but we can't do that if we are going to keep running into issues. So so long as we're doing things cleanly, kind of the whole. I don't remember what it was. It's like slow is accurate and accurate is fast. There's some quote, but anyways, just wanted to call that out.
There were bugs. There were bugs in CI that have been fixed.
Yeah, cool, great. Oh, in our actual CI system, which
Yes. A near merged a PR of mine that fixed. There was a problem with Golang CI when it tried to
okay.
run the custom. It tried to create the custom CI for the Kubernetes APIs. It was crashing. It was having some problem, and there was a bug. It was fixed in 2.7. So upgraded 2.7, and suddenly everything started working.
Great. Okay.
That killed lots of PRs. It also changed. It also caused some lint errors while it was at it. Apparently, it checked some more things that weren't being checked before, but that's okay. I
That's
fixed
yeah.
the PR includes three fixes to lint fixes that are not all over the place.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, both of you, for being on top of that. Appreciate it. Bob, the floor is yours.
Sorry, I thought Nir also raised his hand.
Yeah,
Sorry,
just
Nir.
wanted
Go
to
ahead.
add, yeah, no worries. Just wanted to add a sentence only because you already raised the topic of PR. So I'd like to really encourage everyone, all contributors that, so you were talking about self-validation. I'd like to talk about something like very close to it, but a bit different. So if you identify, so I see recently some PRs that are very, very large. So if you are able to identify like that you're able to split the big PR into, building blocks of that specific PR, I think it would help us in reviewing. It will help you in getting your PR merged quicker. And it will reduce the conflict, the rebase, the other, all the pain. Because sometimes when there's like 1K lines of code PR, it takes some time to review it. And on the same time, we merge different PRs. So you get a lot of conflicts and rebase and eventually it ends up with a pain for both the reviewer and the author. So yeah, just adding a sentence on that.
I think that's a great point. Yeah, and I'm going to write this here just to track it. But yeah, I think we should consider massive PRs a smell. If you can't split your PR up, then like, why is your logic so tied? Understood that some of them is just like you're changing a name of a core struct, and that reaches all over the place. That can look large, but usually those are, there's a lot of files and you just kind of look through. PRs like that should just be that one single thing. Yeah, PRs should be narrow in scope. I completely agree, Nir. If you can't figure out how to break it up, maybe ask. And in fact, I think as the approvers, we should, if a PR is large and you just kind of look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to review this, even though you sat down for like a review session, let's consider that a gut check and ask how this can be split up. I'm with you. I'm happy to push back on that. We've kind of been letting those through. Thank you for bringing that up. Bob, yeah, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Yeah. So this is just like call for attention. This is I have the first version of the user guide for the inference model rewrites out, and feel free to take a look. There is some use cases we want to resolve by this new CRD. It's mainly the model aliasing and also the traffic splitting. while you're updating the LoRa within the inference pool. I'm trying to cover most of the use cases and in the user guide, and I want the user guide to be like easy to follow. So feel free to take a look, and any comments are welcome.
Great. And is the Google Doc for quick iteration? Do you plan to get this into our dev site?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
This
Perfect.
will be finally converted to the
How you have it now is fine. I'm just making sure. Sweet. I will take time to look at this afternoon.
Nir?
Yeah. So I don't have a question about the doc because I haven't reviewed it yet, but just looking here on the page that the screen that Kellen is sharing, I see the config map of the LoRa syncer. So I wanted to ask a question about the LoRa syncer, but I don't want to take the discussion to other direction. If you have more to say about that, about the doc. So a question, if anyone has a question on the doc or the topic, I'll wait. If not, I can raise my question now.
Just at one point for this LoRa, because I wanted to like build on top of our get started. So yeah, that's why like I'm still using maybe the old method of the LoRa. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. And I think that's also the right thing because you want to use something that is currently working. So the question that I wanted to ask is just like, is anyone working on switching to the LoRa file resolver? Someone from Google, maybe?
I POC'd that it works. I've proven that it works. I think Bob has worked on it a little bit too. Bob understood the logic of using the syncer because that's what's in the docs. We've talked about deprecating the syncer and snipping it from main. I think we should do that. I think we could honestly remove it now because it hasn't changed in months. We can just, if people still want to use it, we'll just refer to them to use the older version. We still have the artifacts. It should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, no rush from my side. It was like just a question that like if we know to document at least what should be done, then maybe we can just open an issue to get this, moving sometime. I don't know, next version, maybe the one after that. It's not like urgent or something.
Does SGLang support the same mechanism that is now available in VRLAN? Do we know?
I don't think so.
As far as I'm aware, no.
And would the sidecar be a solution for SGLang? Bob, do you want to check on that? Like, how would you load adapters dynamically on SGLang?
Sure, I can check the SGLang. Yeah.
Could we
just as an FYI, just want to cover our bases? Okay, if we're doing this, this is what we're compromising.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and if we're making effort into SGLang, can we see how much work it would take to do the resolver support? That's another option too. But anyways, cool.
There are efforts on supporting SGLang within at least Inference schedule. I don't know about GIE by itself.
Yeah. Perhaps that is worth a larger discussion. Does anyone want to like maybe write a doc capturing gaps of we do assume a lot with VLLM, but there are a lot of people who use SGLang. Is anyone interested in maybe writing up a quick doc talking about the gaps, setting up a plan on how we can make sure that we consider SGLang a first-class citizen? Because I think we absolutely do want to do that. It's just dev time.
we can talk to the guys who are doing it. We're working on it.
Okay, yeah, cool. And yeah, if we want to get in touch with them, we can spin up an issue. Let's have one upstream, and we can have one in LMD too, and then just link them, just so that we can point to it. Cool. I see hands. Abdullah, is that a fresh hand or?
No, still.
Yeah, no problem. Cool. All right. So I will create an issue to track the LoRa sinker. I can reach out to Shmuel right after this to talk about SGLang.
I'm not the person, by the way. I just know the people.
Yeah. No, I'll reach out to you to get in contact with the others. Yeah, no problem. I'm not trying to saddle you with it. You're good.
They work in a parallel department to myself and Munir, so they're like, you know them well. It's not a problem.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll see him Monday. I'll see him in the office, so I'll talk to him on Monday. Probably.
Sounds good. Okay. I guess we have 13 minutes for open forum. I'll leave it for a little bit. If someone has a topic, feel free to speak up or raise your hand. Otherwise, we can call it.
So talking about big PRs.
Yeah.
We talked about large PRs. We have time to talk about large PRs. So one of them is mine. Right. And if you thought that one was big, haha. The next one that comes after that one's probably even bigger. But again, it's just name changes, and it's like, there's
Yeah.
no lot. I think there's no logic change in there. I'm pretty sure there's nothing. Right? It's named. It's struct changes and then some variable changes here and there to match the names better. Mostly. If you get reviewed, I think Itai actually gave me looks good to me, but I think it's been rebased a few times since then, so I think it got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just like a clarification from my side. So the intention was not like PRs, big PRs that are doing like a rename all over the place or something that really we cannot go around it. The intention was like PRs that add like new logic. So and obviously, of course, it was not personal comment to anyone.
No, I take
So
it that way.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
was
I
a
was
general
calling you
comment
out
and.
personally, but
Yeah. So it was like a general comment about PRs that add new logic or update the logic, and rename obviously is not a logic change. So it's not. These are usually very, very fast reviews.
So then, could they
Yeah.
get reviewed?
Yeah, exactly. The idea is just to kind of maintain the velocity. I think we all have a lot to do. And so as reviewers or approvers, sometimes you want to be able to squeeze some slots in. And if there's a lot of logic that you need to kind of keep in your mental model, that just makes reviewing harder. And you basically won't be able to get to it in one sitting, and then you have to reset, and you kind of start the process all over again. So these really big PRs just suffer from that scale when basically by big near, and I might be speaking for you, but I'm speaking for myself too, so correct me if you feel differently, but big equals high logical load. Renames all over the place isn't really high logical load. In fact, when there's no logic changes, you can kind of just flip through each file and make sure things are making sense, and usually those can carry on their way. But when there's a lot going on, it's a lot more difficult. I see Ryan and then Bob.
Hey everyone. So I probably also fall into this camp, but I wanted to ask the group about your opinion on ETE tests. So the discussion has mostly been about large PRs for new features. What about on ETE tests or these larger tests?
I guess it depends. I mean, yeah, always think about how you can chunk up your PRs logically. Like if you're doing an end-to-end test refactor and adding tests, maybe split that up.
Okay.
But sometimes, I know sometimes tests have a lot of like spin up, and I think again, that's fine. You can logically compartmentalize that and move on.
Okay.
That's fine. But, Bob, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I just want to say I also fall into the BPR camp, and also I have the inference model rewrite, and that caused some issue. So I'm wondering, should we probably add a E2E testing in our CI flow? Because from like just like follow the getting start doc from install the CRD to just run a very simple run a simple inference stack. I can take an AI on that because I did do some testing manually, but I forgot like because like I installed the CRD by myself, so I forgot to install that. So maybe we can have a CI for that. Every time we start a fresh cluster and install all the CRD, just follow the getting start guide.
Yeah, so we do have end-to-end test CI
Okay.
that does currently exist. As to why it didn't catch your issue, I think that's worth investigation. And maybe we could expand scope, but we definitely have all the tools in place to
Okay.
run all the tests that we have.
So on that issue, by the way, what I found was the RBAC was the important thing. Whereas if your RBAC was set correctly, right, then Inference Scheduler and GIE would start up even without the CRD installed. Okay.
Okay.
If it wasn't installed, then it crashed. Then it didn't like it. Which
Okay.
I found a little bit funny, which seems odd to be honest, but it seemed to survive the endeavor.
You can specify the RBAC for this CRD that you don't have installed and it still works.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. Apparently.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. I see. Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I agree with you, Kellen. It sounds straight. It sounds weird, right? I agree.
Yeah, but yeah, with the RBAC, it's just a string. There's no like linking. So I suppose that makes sense. Also, if as we start to expand our CRD scope, this is just a meta point, and then I'll let you go, Bob. But maybe if these CRDs are entirely optional, we should be absorbing errors rather than causing it to be fatal, and maybe just logging that it's like, hey, this isn't gonna work.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's fine if it crashes, but anyways, just a thought. But yeah, sorry, go ahead. You had a point.
No. Agree, all of you. Yeah. I can just take a further look if this similar issue can be catched earlier. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and don't take it. It's fine. This wasn't really like the PR thing wasn't directed at this issue. It was just something I have kind of noticed over the last few months, which is fine. And it happens. I've done it too. This is not a specific call out on anybody. It's just the way it works when you increase velocity and increase personnel. Cool. I think we're about at time. I guess I can give y'all 5 minutes back.
Thank you.
Yay.
Oh, sorry. I see a hand. Go ahead.
Bob, you can go ahead if you want to say anything.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Atharva. I work at E2E Networks and I'm a software engineer there. I've recently came across this project and I've started contributing. So I just made a small PR, just editing the docs. Hope to see you folks merging my PRs, and I wish I could solve more and more issues as possible. Yeah.
Great. Glad to have you. Welcome. Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks all. We'll see you.